Hey guys, how's it going? Today I've decided to start a small video series because it's all I got really. So what I did was I picked up this a few months back, the Electro Harmonix 22 caliber power amp. Unfortunately when I bought it, it didn't come with a power supply because I picked it up secondhand. Long story short, I finally got a power supply for it. So I'm ready to do these videos now. So what I had in mind was I've already built a few preamps. I built the Sunn Model T preamp, the Laney Supergroup 100 preamp, and the Sunn Beta preamp. So previously when I demoed these pedals, I did so in front of my amp, which is a Blackheart Little Giant 5. It's just a little 5-watt tube amp, but it has no effects loop, so I couldn't run the pedals, the preamp pedals, directly into a power amp. So I thought this would be an interesting thing to do, would be to get something like the 22 caliber so I could have a dedicated power amp and something I could just run my preamp pedals through and see how the sound changes, or if the sound changes. I don't expect there's going to be a whole lot of difference because, like I said, I just have a 5-watt tube amp and it's fairly simple. Like, the preamp in it is just a 3-band EQ, so I don't think there's going to be a huge difference in sound. But the 22 caliber is 22 watts solid state. So it should have a lot more headroom, and some of these preamps would probably just overdrive my amp faster, whereas putting them through the power, or the 22 caliber power amp, it might take longer for them to break up. So anyway, I expect it's going to get very loud in here. So today I'm going to do the Sunn Beta preamp, or rather the Sunn Model T preamp first, because that's the first one I built. And if you like this video, stay tuned, and I will do the other 2 preamps in other videos. So I hope you enjoy, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the Model T into my amp first, get a few sound clips, and then I will run it into the 22 caliber and try to match the settings. It's not going to be super scientific, but it's the best I can do by myself. So with that all said, I hope you enjoy. Alright guys, so just to make this simpler, I've got the Sunn Model T preamp on the floor, and it's going into the Blackheart Little Giant 5. You could probably see the red light on. Anyway, what I'm going to do is the EQ controls on the Model T are all noon. So bass, middle, and treble are all noon. The channel selector switch is selected to both channels, and both gains are at noon. So everything's at noon. The channel selector is selecting both channels. The only thing is the volume is cranked all the way up. So here's the clean sound from the amp. And here's the pedal as it is right now. Bridge pickup. So there's a tiny little bit of breakup, but it's very touch sensitive, so if I quiet down it will get cleaner. Anyway, I'm going to go through bridge, middle, and neck position on the guitar just to get sort of a baseline. So we'll start with the bridge. So you can hear when I pick harder, it breaks up a little more. So let's go to middle position. That was a pretty good demonstration of picking lighter will clean it. So neck position now. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is just crank both the gains. So the volume and both gains will be cranked, the EQ will still be at noon. And let's go through the pickup selections again, starting with the bridge. And middle position. So it's still fairly touch sensitive, but it's not going to clean up too much now. Even just barely touching, I still get a little bit of breakup. Anyway, neck position. Alright, so I guess that'll be the baseline for this. I'm gonna take a break for a second, hook up the 22 caliber, and we'll go through all that once more through the 22 caliber. Alright guys, so I've got the power amp hooked up on the floor, the 22 caliber. I've got it going into the bright setting on the switch, and the volume is about, and it's just shy of 9 o'clock, so it's really low. And I've set the Model T preamp to the way I had it the first time. EQ and gains all at noon, volume cranked, and both channels selected. So here's the 22 caliber by itself. Might not come through on the camera, but that's actually a fair amount louder than the amp was set to. So anyway, more power, more headroom, right? So here's the Model T. So speaking of more headroom, it's not breaking up nearly as much as it did on the amp itself. So let's go through the riffs that I did on the 3 pickup settings. So yeah, that stayed really clean. I only got a slight bit of breakup on the low strings. And I had to pick pretty hard just to even hear it. Might even just be some stuff in the room rattling. It's hard to tell. But yeah, that's very clean. So, middle pickup. Yeah, still no breakup. Neck pickup. Alright, so it seems that the Model T doesn't break up nearly as much as my amp would have you believe. Yeah, introduce a higher power, more headroom power amp, and all the grit went away. So let's crank the gains and see what happens next. So this is likely to be even louder than before. Let's start with the bridge pickup. There's some of the breakup back, but again, not as much as it was when it was going straight into the amp itself. So yeah, and it's really loud in here now. So let's go to the middle position. And that time it was a little hard to tell if it was breaking up or if it was just loud enough that it was rattling a lot of stuff in here, so I'll let you be the judge. Neck pickup. Okay, so that was that. Sunn Model T preamp. The conclusions that I've been drawing from it is fairly obvious, I would say, through the video. And I imagine it'll be fairly similar for the other preamps I've got, but I'll do them separately anyway. Yeah, since my amp is just 5 watts, the preamps themselves are pushing it into overdrive way sooner, so you're not really getting the true sound of the preamp when you're running it into another preamp and a 5 watt power amp. So I think the true sound of the Model T is much cleaner than I originally thought it was. So yeah, even with both channels selected, both gains cranked, through the 22 caliber, it's a lot cleaner than it was through the amp. But yeah, like, it's fun to experiment with this kind of stuff. And again, a lot of the bands I listen to that do use the Sunn Model T preamp, like the actual amp, they tend to run a big muff in front of it, or run a rat in front of it, or even a treble booster, and all those will change the characteristics as well. So, you know, it's fun to experiment is the conclusion, I guess. Anyway, let me know what you thought in the comments, and like I said, if you enjoyed this, look forward. I've got a couple more preamps to do this too. So thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you next time, guys. Take it easy.